Good day and welcome back. This is Professor Ratajczyk. Once again, Chapter 1. I'm going to go through principle number 2, 3, and 4. So as you can see here, principle number 2 is the cost of something is what you give up to get it. So if you think about that for a moment, think about your everyday life. You go to Target or you go to the gas station, convenience store, you go to the bookstore, you go to McDonald's, Wendy's, wherever you go, you're making a decision. And that decision is the cost of something. So you go to Wendy's or you go to McDonald's and look for that cheeseburger. Okay? So their cheeseburgers, let's say $3. You have to make a decision. Is that cheeseburger worth that $3 that I have to give up? So I have to trade my $3, which, green paper money, I have to trade that to the salesperson or the cashier at McDonald's to get that cheeseburger. So this is where we start talking about comparing cost with benefits. So cost-benefit analysis, you might have gotten this from other classes, maybe even in a current job that you have. You have to decide, is it worth it for me to do this or that? We kind of lead directly into opportunity cost. Now, if there's one thing that I want you to gain from this course, the one thing is opportunity cost. The other stuff that I'm going to go through is very important as well, but if you don't know opportunity cost in this class and any other classes, in your job, in your career, and in your decision making as someday maybe you raise a family, you are going to be missing out on the great things that economic offers a human being in society. Opportunity cost. It is whatever must be given up to obtain one item. Now in economics, we talk more about production of goods. Should I produce guns or should I produce butter? Okay. Guns versus butter. Should I produce a laptop computer or a desktop computer? Which one should I produce? That's opportunity cost. If I only have time to produce one laptop computer or one desktop computer, then I must make a decision. Am I going to produce one or the other? Other examples could be, do I mow my lawn? Now, I'm a college professor. I make a very healthy wage. But in addition to that, I do consulting in the summer. As I mentioned before, I also complete video games or video game economic engines and then sell them or license them to other companies. Now, what does it cost to mow a lawn? A professional might charge $50 for a yard, and that yard might take 2 hours, but that also includes disposal of the grass clippings, debris, leaves, whatever, and the cost of the gasoline to run the unit. But if I own a lawnmower and there's a neighborhood, kid around or a college student, I might offer them $20 to do the yard. Now, why might I do this? Well, if I can get $200 an hour for consulting a project, or even $50 an hour, then it is worth it for me to pay somebody $20 to mow my lawn for me. Because if it takes 2 hours to mow my lawn, that's either going to cost me $100 or $400. Because I could have used that time that it took to mow my lawn on other projects. I could have worked with a client or a customer. I could have added more code to a video game that I want to sell or lease or license. So whenever you can get a better deal, go for it. That's opportunity cost. Sometimes we talk about maybe Tom Brady, a football player, or Adrian Peterson, another football player. They're making millions of dollars. So if you break that down per hour, then that's thousands of dollars per hour. So why would they mow their own lawn for 2 hours, sacrificing time in the weight room, lifting weights and time on the practice field, throwing footballs, catching balls, running, all that stuff? Why would they choose to mow their own lawn? Well, in reality, they would not mow their own lawn. They would hire a gardening service. They would hire just somebody out there that can mow the lawn for them because they know that it's a waste of their time. Okay? So opportunity cost. Whatever must be given up to obtain one item. Principle number 3. Another very important concept as we get into this class. In this course, and especially in economics, economic people, economists, economic analysts, we're a special breed of people. We get to make up rules as we go, kind of like a weather person. How many times have you looked at a weather forecast only for it to not come true? It's pretty often. That meteorologists get it wrong. Same thing with economists. Economists are one of the only groups of people that keep their job if their forecast is incorrect, just like meteorologists. So, with that said, we get to make things up as we go, but we also get to interpret things differently than accountants or statisticians or mathematicians. We get to determine our own definitions for things. And that leads me into principle number 3. Throughout this course, we are going to follow this principle religiously. We believe, as economists, in a capitalist society, like the United States, rational people think at the margin. What that means is rational people. We believe that everybody we're talking about in our models and in our discussion are sane. They are not insane people in mental institutions. We believe that everybody is sane and they're always trying to be healthy and make good decisions to achieve their own objectives, dreams, and goals. So again, we believe that people are making healthy decisions to do the best they can with what they have. Now, some people can only afford to eat at McDonald's. And I think most of us know that McDonald's is not the healthiest of places. However, if you think about the people that go to McDonald's, they're low income. Okay? The President of the United States would rarely go to a McDonald's. Donald Trump would rarely go to a McDonald's. Jennifer Lopez would rarely go to a McDonald's. Okay? It's the lower income people that are struggling to put food on the table that typically would go to fast food incomes and can't afford much. To them, they are making the best decision. Because at the end of the day, I know hamburgers from
McDonald's have a lot of fat in them, but they also have calories, they also have some vegetables, they have protein, and they have carbohydrates. All things that people need to survive. Now, is it the best food choice? When you think about yourself, your parents, other income levels, people that are rich, famous, no, it depends on the person. So, rational people, you have to decide who is in the marketplace. Who are we talking about? In order to kind of gauge rational people. Now finally, for this concept, marginal changes. They're small incremental adjustments to a plan of action. Okay, so what does that mean? That is what I call geek speak. So let's break that down. When we talk about the word marginal, all we're talking about is a small change. So, for example, if I were to study for an exam, that maybe I have an exam on Friday. If I were to put in 1 hour of studying, I might get a C. If I put in an hour and a half of studying, I might get a B. If I put in 2 hours of studying, I might get an A. That's what we're talking about here. Small adjustments to achieve results. So an increase in hours spent studying for an exam would be an example of a marginal change. Later on in the course in chapter 13 and 18, we get more in depth into marginal change, but we won't be hitting that until July. So, principle number 4. Now let me skip back here. So this goes with principle number 3. Marginal benefits. So I just talked about that. That would be your example of getting an A for the course or a B for the course. Marginal cost. Those are the additional hours or half hours or minutes of studying in order to get that benefit. And then finally, a rational decision maker will only take action if marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost.
Okay? So that's your cost-benefit analysis. We believe the definition of a rational person is they will make a decision if the benefit is greater than the cost. They will change their plan or study more hours, put in more time studying, if they believe that they will get benefits greater than the cost. Okay. So number 4, people respond to incentives. Okay? An incentive, it is something that motivates a person towards an action. Okay? So let's just go back to that lawn mowing example. If I were to ask the neighborhood kid to mow my lawn for me, and I did not give him a reward for it, he and or his parents would likely say no. Now, on one hand, if the parents are nice, if the kid is nice, and I've done favors for them in the past, sure, maybe they will do my lawn for free. But, generally speaking, it takes an incentive to motivate a person. How many of you would mow the lawn for free? 2-hour lawn job, where you have to dispose of the trimmings, the debris, all that stuff. You have to fill up the gas, all that. How many of you would do that? I don't suspect 100% of you would do that. So this leads us into pricing and incentives. So if I were to say, hey, for $5, how many of you would mow my lawn? I'd still probably get 0. But if I said $15, how many of you would mow my lawn for $15? I bet 1 or 2 of you would raise your hand. Or at least email me and say, hey, professor, I'll come down from the cities and mow your lawn for $15. Okay, not really. But the higher the price, the more likely I'm going to find people to mow my lawn. So we use this in terms of buyers and sellers. Think about the McDonald's hamburger. You go to McDonald's and expect to pay $3. Okay? What happens if you go in the next day and the price is $6? So the price increased to $3. Well, typically what will happen is that buyers will consume less because A, they can't afford it, and B, they find that the hamburger is more expensive than chicken nuggets, and they'll eat the chicken nuggets instead because the chicken nuggets are cheaper. We'll get into that in chapter 4. But sellers, as the example is, you in the lawn mowing example are the seller. You are selling 2 hours of your time to mow my lawn. You are selling 2 hours of your time to mow my lawn. Now, if I were to raise the price, I would get more people. Sellers would produce more hours willing to mow my lawn. And finally here, public policy. Okay? Public policy, so the government, they can change costs or benefits. Their government can add tax policies that influence people's decision making. For example, if we go to McDonald's, $3 cheeseburger, and the government says, hey, people are too fat in this country. People are too obese and unhealthy. From now on, I will be charging a 50-cent tax on every McDonald's cheeseburger sold. Okay, that is an example of public policy. And that, in effect, changes the price of that cheeseburger to $3.50. So that changes the cost, and it changes people's behavior. The benefit stays the same. But then you have to ask yourself, is the benefit greater than the new cost based on the public policy?